What is up, everybody? It is Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. So before we get the ladies up, and I am so happy that they're all here. I am so happy. So there's a few things we got to do announcement wise before we get everyone up. So I'll give them a few more seconds and they're going to come on like fire. So as always, we like to put up, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button so you get notified when epic conversations like this one and some of the other ones I host go live or going to go live. Also, follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also, join the State of Things with Aisha, Jill, and LaLa Discord group. Please email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. Also, to advertise your business or service or product on the Dr. Vibe Show, please email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. A little bit show alerts. So a few things. First off, if you're watching this on October 14th, tomorrow, October 15th, I am going to be hosting with Cesar Nadima Musa, the Black Canada Talking, where we highlight and showcase Black Canadians and some of their thoughts and POVs. So check that out. And then this Monday morning coming up, which will be the 16th at 9 a.m., we have Carolyn Nicole from the Energy Shack Juice Bar. She's going to be talking about the diabetic pandemic. And wherever you're watching the show now, that's where you can watch it. Carolyn is working with me in regards to changing my diet. So I'm doing veggie burgers from scratch now. I'm also doing carrot ginger soup from scratch. And a while back, I always had the thought process, it costs a lot to eat healthy. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't cost a lot to eat healthy. So I am encouraging you, if you're available this Monday, 9 a.m., she's going to chat about it. And if you don't, at least subscribe to the YouTube channel and you'll be able to watch the replay. And then I'm going to say a little bit about myself here. So coming up on Wednesday, October 18th from 5:02 p.m. Eastern to 8:02 Eastern, Brand Sponsorship Summit put on by one of my main mentors, probably my main mentor, Mario Armstrong. Between him and his wife, they have generated over $4 million in brand sponsorships over the last 5 years with clients such as Capital One, Zenny Eyewear, etc. And I am blessed to be on a panel talking about how small creators have landed big sponsorship deals. So go to that link, and it's only $23.21 US to come in on it. So that's $30 Canadian. I don't know what it is in any other currency. Sorry, that's all my brain can handle. But it's a great event. Maybe in the middle, I'll show you. Why don't I show it now? Just show you a little bit about it. So sorry, ladies, just going to keep you on hold for just a second. But I'll just show you the webpage and some of the people that are going to be part of this event. And again, for $30, and even if you don't go, pay for it, and you'll get access to the replay. It's going to be available for a minimal cost. So I believe it's on the screen right now, and I'm just checking. Yes, it is. So I'm just going to go through this page real quick. There's Mario Armstrong, Wednesday 18th. It's a 3-hour virtual conference for creators, coaches, podcasters, YouTubers, event organizers, influencers, and authors and experts with small niche audiences, and featuring PR execs and agencies who hire creators. If you go to this page and hear from agency and execs representing brands including Capital One, FedEx, Amazon, Sandals, Marriott, Oreo, Whole Foods Markets. I'll go through this really quick. There's Mary Armstrong. There's people who are going to be featured. Casey Benedict, CEO and founder of Maverick Mindshare, which deals with agency directors of global consumer products. Lady here, Shafone Myers. Her influencers stuff with travel and agency brands like Sandals Resorts and David's Bridals. Amy K. Stanton, founder and CEO of her own company, boutique marketing and PR agency in regards, and some of the brands that she's represented: Laird Superfood, Jamie Anderson, Serena Poon, Jacques Bastien. I have had conversations with him before. He has an agency that has dealt with brands such as the NBA, Crayola, Kinky Curl. Sarah Donnelly has a boutique public PR firm. There's Jetta Bates, has a company called Twist Global, and she's dealt with brands such as Unilever, Coca-Cola, Adidas, Nielsen, Chrome Hearts, Ben Suntory. There is some guy you may know, some guy named Dr. Vibe. I'm going to be part of the panel. And here's some of the schedule: opening keynotes, successful small falling creators, tuning small into big, brand and PR execs panel. There's a fireside chat with an industry titan, bonus pitching session where a selected number of people will be able to pitch to the judges to see what their idea has in regards to potential for brand sponsorships, Q&A session, and bonus VIP session, and then closing remarks. I want to tell people who are interested, there's only 125 seats available. So I would suggest, if you're interested, to get your tickets now. So with that out of the way, the main thing we're here for tonight is three fantastic ladies. So we're going to bring them to the stage. Aisha K, Jill Jones, LaLa Key are here in the house. Yes, you got it, LaLa. Some you got to unmute. So I think okay. The only person needs to unmute is LaLa, and we're good to go. We're good. What's going on, ladies?
It's going.
It's going. What direction?
It's going. I think that's the best way to describe it. It's going.
It's going.
Look, I'm just happy
it's
I
going.
can see.
Wow. Well, before we
I
get
just want
started,
to tell everybody thank you for people who reached out when my beloved cat Ashley passed away from kidney failure. I appreciate the concern and the prayers and all of that. I'm just not ready to talk about it, as I've said. I don't know if I'll ever be able to, but I want to thank everyone.
Well, thank you, Jill. I said this to the ladies before we went live. I am so happy that they're here, and I'm very grateful to at least be part of their lives on most Saturday evenings. It's very strengthening to be in their presence, and I want to give you flowers and appreciate you all. Through the good and not so good. So I want to appreciate, and as I said to them before we went live, I think God created me 6'3" for a reason, so people can unload whether it's good or bad on me. And I said I've always got their back. So
thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
I want to say thank you. I'm even tearing up a bit right now, which is a good thing. That believe and support in each one of you and your families.
Well, that's the thing. We're all going through so many things at the moment. And this year has been a really awful year for many. I feel like this year was the heartstrings year. Like, we've had years that tugged at rock stars and loved, but this one tugged at something else in our makeup of who you are individually, not what maybe how the world sees you, but in your little bubble. It sort of penetrated a lot of bubbles this year have been touched in a really weird way. So I'm thankful to have you all. Grateful.
So some people already in the house. Black Beauty. Sis, come on, get it in here. I think it's thinking now. It's thinking. Okay, well, there we go. Hello, everyone. Okay, Big Maniac says good evening. Fitness IQ Cam says good evening. And thank you, LaLa, for sharing it on your Facebook page. Also, Fitness IQ Cam says, come on, let's get to it. See you there. I don't know where there is, but see you there. She also says,
Conference.
hello, late. Yes, to the conference. I can't keep up. Producing, hosting. She also says, hello. Yes. And then Fitness IQ Cam says, yes, Jill, my condolences, Jill.
Thank you.
Wigmaniac, you're welcome, says, you're very much welcome, Jill. Great to see you back. And great words, Dr. Vibe. Thank you so much, Fitness IQ Cam. All right. So we haven't been all together in a bit, and there's a lot going on in the world. Too much.
Yeah, the world just Armageddon happened, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it
Jeez.
reminds me of that Police song, when the world is running down, you make the best of what's still around.
You know, I was
Right.
singing his song. I was also singing History Will Teach Us Nothing by Sting this week, too.
Wow.
And I feel so
will teach us
bad that
nothing.
I missed his concert. I felt so bad. Like, that would have been a concert that, you know what? I would have went to that outrageous amount to just have that experience.
Totally.
You know,
some people are
have that
talking about the U2 show with the Sphere, that they're doing everything in this 3D ultra modern.
They're still touring.
Oh my God. But the videos that my friend showed me from the show, it's like nothing I've ever seen.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
like
You know, my
nothing.
sister actually did go see Beyonce in New Orleans.
Oh,
She
But
got-
this show,
She got free tickets. So all she'd do is pay for her trip to
okay.
New Orleans. And
the
well, one of her
Sphere is
friends one of her friends got like free tickets and had extra ones that like come on, but she said it was really good. I'm one of those people who's lukewarm on Beyonce. You know, most people love her or hate her. I'm just like lukewarm, and that feels like the best place to be. But my sister said she was there, and then she saw my cousin there, also from Connecticut, and they both happened to be there, and they said it was a really good show.
wow.
this is like the Sphere apparently is like nothing anybody's ever seen. It's interactive. It's like
Wow.
I'd love to go
like
and see that.
it can look like they're in the desert, or it can look like you're on the strip. It just changes the way it's built, like
Wow.
this interactive component in 3D, and then it looks
Wow.
like you're going through a prism. And so people who do
Okay.
shows there in the future are going to have to work with the team there. It's not even
Wow.
it's something else. And you know what? It's like the tickets are $600, okay?
Wow.
That's for one, well, $640. But here's the thing: the person that I was talking to, she's older. She's like our age, in her 60s, and she said, "I worked all my life. I'm getting ready to retire, and what else am I going to spend? I want to spend. I went through this my favorite band in my whole life, like at one point." Why shouldn't I go and be able to treat myself with my money that I've saved and go and do this? She goes, and this is the part where the boomers still have the strength of the market, because we do.
$600.
And that was just at one different tier inside. Inside this ball. You're inside a ball in the middle of the desert.
Wow.
So it's
People are mortgaging their houses for Taylor Swift tickets. So 600 to see these legends is not
I can do a whole show on that one.
You're right, but you've got to look at the
I
way
heard
they've
that,
done
LaLa.
this. And then it's like, as soon as you're walking up to it, it's this information ball. Things are being written on it, coming from it, boom, boom, boom. So you know how U2, they were always up on technology and into.
But $600?
Well,
like Fitness IQ's going, she
well, you
goes.
look at someone like U2 could make, it's a lot smaller on a certain level than their normal auditoriums, because I've seen them. I saw them after 9/11, and maybe the best show I've ever seen. They just blew me away.
There's one of their albums. I remember the first time listening to it on headphones. U2 War.
Yeah,
that album. The first time I listened to it on headphones. It was a whole just amazing experience. I think they still had a producer, Steve. Is it Lily White? Was their producer back then? That album, in my mind, was
the one that was the one that put them on the radar. I mean, I remember I had just moved to Minneapolis. It was in '82, and I was at First Avenue. It was the first night I'd gotten into Minneapolis, and they had these video screens, and they were on there. And that even though I was there hanging out with Prince, I remembered looking and going, "Who is this? Like, who are they?" And there have been bands in my life that actually made me stop, and they've become huge, huge stars. Because when you see them, I don't know how to, you just know. They have something that, like Terrence Trent D'Arby was another one that you stopped and went, "Oh my God," but then he walked away. Guys, guess who sounds like Terrence Trent D'Arby? He's a country singer called Chris Stapleton. He's got a tone like.
I've heard him. Yes, I've heard him before. Yes.
You and you know me, but you should probably leave. That's his song. But the tone sometimes, if you've heard him, worth checking out. He is a for real singer. Really good.
Okay. Well, this is it. So Fitnet's IQ goes to the $600. She goes, as it comes up here, KMT. Do you know what KMT is, family? Kiss my teeth. This means to the 600, and she goes, right? And then she also puts mortgaging your house fee entertainment. And she goes, crazy.
I know.
We're a little bit slow on the delivery today, so it goes crazy. And also Regina goes, it's having a little bit of transmission. Okay, it's coming up there. Says, I am way too cheap for that. And a boomer. I paid $300 for a Prince ticket in 2011, though. Yes, the first three U2 albums were good, and then, well, not.
I love them. I think I've kind of gone with the growth of what they do. I think, you can't always bat 1,000, but when you're into somebody, like where they go, you may not always like the road, but if I can see how they got there, like I'll be honest, I had issues with some of Prince's choices musically. For himself, that's great. He got to do what he wanted, but it just wasn't where I was at that point. So I totally get it when you just go a different direction than your artist.
I get it. Sometimes it wasn't where he should have been.
We had a whole conversation about that, didn't we, Aisha?
Yes, we did. Well, Jill, that's right. Jill wasn't here for that. I'm very upset about some of his music choices for himself. Still am. Man's been gone 7 years, but yeah I didn't.
Okay. All right. We got some other. I think, Damien, have you been with us before? Damien F. Alexander says, good evening. Good to have you here.
You guys know what? A couple of weeks ago, I did go. I went to New York City to take my daughter to this concert at Madison Square Garden. I'm not sure what the group's name was. Is it
okay?
Why don't we? Can we not? Please. So it's a weird name, but me, my age, and a whole bunch of screaming young teeny boppers. Like, and you know what I did the whole time? I played Yahtzee on my phone.
Jesus.
Serious?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
I took some pictures, so my daughter was too fanatical the whole time to take any, and I knew she'd want some, so I took some pictures. But other than that, I was playing Yahtzee on my phone, and then I was like, "Oh, is it over?" Okay.
I haven't played that game in ages. Yahtzee? Oh God!
Oh my God! Yahtzee with buddies on for your phone is so much fun. Yes.
Okay, so
Nice
everyone,
game.
hey everyone, Damon F. Alexander, welcome. We got comments. Justin, haven't seen you in a minute, Justin, and saying U2 became interesting with every album that followed. They seem to play it safe in the 2000s and have been struggling. They need to call it a day. They don't need to do any stuff anymore. Okay, let's get John here, and it's a little bit slow because there's some. Hey Jill, I missed Jill on Twitter, but I'm sure being off Twitter increases the quality of life.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my
We
God,
also
I've got my
say-
social media down
Sometimes
to
I
like
miss
this
it.
much, and
Okay.
it's so freeing.
Mhm.
So Fitness IQ can ask you all, has anyone played Sequence?
You mean Sequence, the group that? Oh, you mean you're talking about U2 album? I
Game.
thought you were talking about.
No,
I thought you were talking about the group that Angie Stone was a part of.
No, the
No,
which
Which
is
is
the
first
game.
came out.
Yeah.
it's a game, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
no! Oh
Yes.
wait, I take it back. Isn't that the one where you like pour different things in different bottles till you get like the? Okay, I think I have played it,
I have no,
but
yeah.
yeah,
And then she also
easy
says,
move.
all right. So she says she spent 6 hours playing Sequence the other day. Okay. All right. And then we've got, okay. So Wigmaniac says, I'm on Threads now, but the layout isn't the best.
I know.
And
Yeah,
then
I can't
Justin
even get
says,
mine to work.
Prince was an artist, which meant he was going to do different things. Follow your muse means not playing everyone all the time.
Yes,
And
he was an
then,
artist, and yes,
oh,
he
well,
did do things that he shouldn't have. But here is it. Some of that was just being stubborn and trying to uh shove things in Warner Brothers' face. Let's be honest. If we're talking like real, I'm sorry, but I think you know when your stuff's not,
Hitting.
top tier.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, well, we haven't been all together in a while. I think a while, more than 2 weeks, because the last time we were together, last 2 times we were together was
About a
Aisha
month
and
ago.
LaLa. I think it's maybe almost, yeah.
A
So
month.
it's been a while. So there's been a lot going on. So let's get to it. First things first. Yeah, we're going to talk about it, but not too long. The Israel-Hamas war. So I'm just going to put program alert. We're not going to get too deep into this because there's a lot of people that are triggered by this. So we're just going to have some minimal commentary on it and go from there. So who would like to chat first?
I'll go.
I'll go.
And
Oh, go, Aisha. Go.
here's how I feel about the whole thing. I feel bad for the innocent people being slaughtered. Period. I don't think innocent people should be put in the middle of anything, whether it be the Palestinians, whether it be the Israelis. I just hearing, especially the children, that is the part for me that bothers me the most, hearing about the horrific things that are happening to children, both in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip, and in the mainland Israel. It is just heartbreaking. And I wish the media would do a better job at concentrating on reporting the tragedy. I've seen way too many articles, posts, and news segments of blaming college professors for the stance that you're blaming all. I used to be a professor. My sister is one. You're talking about 2 or 3 people made comments. So you're gonna paint all of them with the same brush. Here's my thing with that. One, they're not policymakers. 2, they don't vote on whether funding goes to Israel or not. 3, why do we even care? It's taking the focus away from the people who actually need it, and those are the innocent people who are suffering. And I wish that there could be some peace in that region. But again, my heart, my thoughts are always going to be with those people, especially the kids, because kids do not ask for this adult.
I have to agree with all of that. And the loss of life, we all know how precious that is. And maybe I'm very sensitive about it, especially this year, but I can't see justification for any death. What happened is absolutely horrendous. But I also still feel for the loss of life, especially the children. Because as Aisha said, they didn't ask for this. And this is already a poor section. So my heart goes out. And I don't care if I sound like I'm cliche, but until we get this love thing down that people can't seem to embrace, because they can embrace hate so quickly, but you can't embrace love, then we're doomed to continue to repeat this. And I'm just going to choose to continue to pray over this whole thing, and really take it in my heart to do the best that I can to be a beacon of light. And I can't say anything other than that.
Okay, well, I feel, I've said that I stand with Israel. I also stand with Palestine on the other part of what is now going to be the consequence of what their elected or their officials or people who represent them in Palestine have done to exploit them, holding them hostage as well, and putting them up like, lambs for the slaughter. I feel like, yeah, the media could do a better story, but let's stop asking the media for being decent. It's never going to happen. They're not going, none of them are getting it right. I don't know why. Let's look at the billionaires. Let's look at the fossil fuel class. We are funding Hamas every time we want to keep our fossil fuels. So if you really give about these kids, you will vote differently, because America helps to fund indirectly by the things that it supports. All of us giving lip service online, straddling the fence. On one hand, I wake up and I see everybody wants to be a Christian. Oh, we're Christian. We're good Christians. We're bad Christians. We're whatever we are, but read your Bible. This has always been amazing to me. People have been begging for the end of the world, and then they see it coming, and then they don't know what to do. Then they want to act like it's not here. And it may not very well be here for some of us who don't believe in that. But religious fanaticism on both sides is why this is happening too. There is a solid reality, and I'm not trying to be a real, whatever about it. But when someone wants to kill you, what do? How many olive branches can you or will you anymore even offer? No, Israel has not been a great neighbor either. That land also, there's so much history to overturn how many people have really lived on it. Come on, should we go back to before the Ottoman Empire? Should we go to the Persians and ask them if they want it back? I mean, if they start giving land back like that, then we all need to pack up and leave America and give it back to the natives, because that's, everybody in every tribe has been a pseudo-colonialist to some degree. Every single body. There was a time when different native groups here would kill another tribe that came and infiltrated between the Apaches, the Sioux, or whatever. All these kumbaya things that we seem to think happen now, they weren't. People were adversarial, and because this truth of everything was so primal, people were fighting over resources, over power. That has been how we even got this far. For every bit of how it's been carved into a country should let you know that every single, whatever country you're in, did carve out some group of people to make itself a country. And it's horrific, but what are we going to tear down? So my whole thing is we've got to decide what we want to be as a people going forward, because looking at our histories and talking about it over and over is not going to get it. But the reality is Hamas is controlling interest in Palestine, and they might lead by fear, and maybe their people don't agree with them 100%, but they've had them in power since 2006. And it's not really cool, because the reality is they say they want to kill Jews and infidels and anybody who doesn't believe the way they do. That's really hard to believe. We have to stop taking a group of people that don't want to come into the party with us. And if we wouldn't be with them if we didn't need any oil from people, honestly, the religion is not that friendly for us. It hasn't worked out. It's difficult. I'm not talking about everybody's, it's a peaceful religion, but it kind of goes against democracy, just like how strict our conservative Christian evangelicals are becoming. We make jokes, Taliban-esque. It's the same thing. It's like, how far are we going to take this, or we don't progress? But I can't support any theology that is hell-bent on sending women back into the dark ages. I can't do it, and treating people like chattel. I won't do it. I won't. So when you look at what the necessity is right now in the war, and people were both sides victimized, it doesn't even matter where it begins, because it's been tit for tat for so long. It really has been. And, you know, that's just the way it is. The saddest story I heard out of all of this is that one of the women who was abducted was a woman who used to go into Palestine into Gaza. She'd go from her place every day to pick up sick kids who had kidney issues and take them for dialysis. Every day she did this, to have groups of kids. So we've lost the plot in seeing that there was some type of humanity working in the midst of it. And people might have been changing, because I believe Israel let its guard down. And I also believe that Donald Trump gave with his big fat mouth somewhere, gave some information about the Iron Dome. Something happened. And once, as Israel says, when they get after this, they will go and find out where this fell apart. But you also need to ask yourself, there are 12 Arab tribes of Ishmael. Read your Bibles. They don't want to help these people in Palestine. Where are the billionaires? Nobody. You know why no billionaire jumped in and said, oh, you know what? Let's get something together. Elon Musk tried to get 12 kids out of a cave. Where was he today? Sitting somewhere eating. He wasn't only a cricket. He was eating them all. So when you see what's happening, we don't mean to anybody. None of us. But to have to deal with some religion, this is why, you know, but the saddest part of all, the thing I just heard on NPR, there was a family who's dealing with the loss of life, the woman who
yes, and NPR,
they've been covering and doing an amazing job. His last words were, we were getting closer, but we will never, probably ever get like this again. And we know that Iran was getting a little scared that they were getting together. But see, the thing about being in the Arab community, it looks like they sneak around behind each other's backs. They slink, baby. And if you saw what they did in Syria and whatever, and Russia's also got its dirty little hands on here, because don't forget, Russia and Iran have something to do with what's going on in Armenia. I mean, there's an Armenian genocide going on again. And in Azerbaijan just kicked the Armenians out. They have to leave. So it's all hitting, but that's not a coincidence that they're hitting at the same time. That takes a great deal of planning. Remember, we said this.
Well, I want to shout out to LaLa Faldil. I don't know if I get her name right, on NPR. She's doing incredible coverage of this situation. She's been really, really good. And I mean, giving a different slant, which a lot of times, or like a neutral slant to news stories, which NPR does a lot of times. And so if you want a good, and a lot of stories, a good neutral slant, she's been doing a great job. So hail up to her, pardon me, at NPR, and the human side of it, especially the human side of this situation. A lot of comments, as you would expect, as always. And there are a pile of people watching live. Thank you so much. Add your comments. I will put them up. And also thank you, LaLa, for sharing the live conversation on your Facebook page. Regina says, my friend got arrested last night in front of Schumer's house last night, protesting Jewish Voice for Peace. Interesting. Oh. Also, Regina's not in the best of health. She's saying she's down with bronchitis, but glad that you're on tonight to keep me company. We appreciate that. Black Beauty says, the thing's a little bit slow tonight because I'm absolutely not down with the loss of innocent life. The children innocent have done nothing wrong. They are God's children too. Hey, we were wondering where you are. Probably the most loyal of all, Jen Myers. Hey, everybody. Sorry I'm late. No worry. We're here for you. We're here for you. Michelle Hayward says oppression is oppression. The oppressor will convince you that they are oppressed. You can barely hear the voices of the oppressed because the oppressor has removed or limited their ability to communicate.
I don't know what that means. That's a lot of like, gibberish. These are like platitudes that I'm hearing. No offense, Michelle, but it's a little cliche. And I'm seeing a lot of cliches because this is the type of situation that even in the Bible, it says, woe to those who have children in the last days, because it will come down to things of having to make a choice, because this is a spiritual war. What do you all think a spiritual war is? There's going to be good and evil, and it's right and it's wrong. And we're dealing with groups of people who believe that this is what this is. So when you have to look critically at this. This is how they see it. That otherwise they wouldn't be fighting over this land so much. They each have a conviction to stay on this land because it's spiritually. Now, until you understand what that means, then these platitudes don't mean a hill of beans, because they will fight to the death for it, because it's about what's in their books, not ours. It's theirs. And we have to accept that there are factions of Islamic groups that do not fit in with the Western world or democracy. So why are we trying to make them as such? They don't. But when it comes down to they're killing X, Y, and Z, you need to we can sit here all day and say, oh, it's terrible, blah, blah, blah. But what's the solution? Because as much as we keep saying, I'm not down with the killing of things, where were you when Saudi's been like killing the people in Yemen? Where's the outrage? They starved them to death, like starved them since like 2000. And in the 2000s, Yemen has been struggling, the children. So don't give me this that you suddenly give it about the children. You only give it because this is getting the most attention. But
no, I can't get with that, Jill. I can't get with that, because for me personally, I can't say that, regardless of when I'm aware of it is the correct thing to say, I guess, because the problem is we are fed things in the media that are always not that is important to them to feed us. They're feeding the pig. That's what I call feeding the pig. You feed somebody stuff that you want them to be outraged at. But the minute you're aware of it, then you become aware of it, then you can cause things to happen, and the ripple of the effect of how little or how big it is, whether it's a donation or whether it's a prayer or whether it's a candle. So I can't really say that I don't give a about what's going on. I do care about kids. I care about all of them. And the fact that we are such horrible beings to one another just disgusts me to my core. And I have been in tears all week long because I'm sick of it and I don't know what to do. I think so many of us feel that we don't know what to do. We're part of this farm of people feeding us garbage, and we have too much on our plate. We've gotten fat on luxury and influence and who's rich and who's not and who's doing and this going. I'm sick of it. When I know we're not, because I do know the Bible as well. But at some point, we are not supposed to sit back and be compliant about our world. We can't. Regardless of how we know how it's going to end, we still have to be human to one another, because that is what the path is. So I can't say that I don't care about kids. Just because I don't absolutely know everything that's out there doesn't mean that we don't care. It's just what it's been said.
That people, I'm not saying you personally, but
I know.
I would say that our leadership, even when we as a society, there's a lot on our plate, but I'm here to say where this situation exists, there's also the other ones, because it really gets my goat up when I hear that Egypt refuses to open the door. They
Right.
are prepared to leave the door shut and hear the blood curdling screams on the other side of the door. And how they decided to do it was to pretend that it's because they don't want to let the American Palestinians in. They don't like the Palestinians either, because if they did give up, they would have opened the door a long time ago. And so would the Saudis, so would they all. But this is a tribal situation, even in Ishmael's little umbrella. They hate each other too. Clearly, that's not love. But then
No,
again,
there's no love in it at all. And that's the
I wonder
problem.
but then again, they don't want them to get along either, the brotherhood. But if you know, the prophecy is that the 12 tribes of in our Christianity is that they want to be together to form one nation. Now, that may be so, but I think they still are peddling it on the down low. I don't believe the public behavior as much as I'm more concerned about the maneuvers that go on behind the scene. I don't believe what is being perpetrated because of the alignments that are happening with Russia. So for me, this is yet another thing where we're going to look really bad, but we need to push back on countries and say, why don't you help your brother or your sister? Yo. And where are the billionaires who all of a sudden don't want to go help, don't want to do anything? I think it's wrong.
Well, and then the whole thing as well, and I'm not equating either one of these to which one is more horrific, because they're all horrific.
But it's a competition right now.
But here's exactly, because guess what? Zelensky's over there going, hey, we're still in a war over here, everybody. But now everybody's like, oh, now we're over here. Forget what's going on over in the Ukraine.
Well,
so
he stepped up and said, this is a group of people. He was all for what was going to happen, because he said they don't want a two-state solution. They want to kill Jewish people. He said it. He had a really interesting speech. And, you know, by all accounts, I mean, I'm not, but I kind of get that vibe. It ain't looking like you're trying to be like,
but I think we're talking about two things here. There are the regular everyday people who live there, and we don't know what they think or what they believe, because they don't have a voice. Then there is the power, and the power, we know what the powerful think because we've seen their actions. And this, I don't think either side there or in any of these countries that are engulfed in any kind of civil war or hot war really gives a about the people on the ground. It's about a power grab and who can have the most power and the most control over just it's like,
I don't know if that's true, because I actually feel, and I had read that they were doing raids in Gaza. And for me, the duration from the abduction of the kidnappers and all this flood of videos, I kind of had a feeling that you would be doing those, going in tunnels and trying to do these raids, because you're trying to see proof of life of the hostages. There has been no proof of life since the day that they took them, just those fresh videos. There's been really that we know of, right? And now we see they're sitting at the border. And so in my mind, the reason it moved into that element was because you don't think that there are people who live in Palestine who made some phone calls and said, yo, I know so-and-so's got X, Y, and Z, or whoever. I don't believe that there aren't people who tried to help. I just won't believe that. I do believe that there are people who kind of tried to rat out and kind of to save themselves too. But
I'm sure there are some, but to paint the whole region with that broad brush.
Who's painting the whole region with the broad brush?
Would be just as
Who's painting the whole region, though?
I'm just making a statement. I just think that
you said to paint the whole region with the broad brush. Who's doing it?
The media really is doing a bang up job at doing that.
No, the media has been very slanted towards the Palestinians. incidents these last couple of days. It's been
Well, the
all
last
I've
couple of
seen are the
days.
saddest stories because it gets everybody's emotions. The reality is it's 55% of Palestinians are what, 25 and under, 24 and under. Where was everybody like when these kids needed raising?
But
Where
that's
has
what I'm asking you.
everybody
If 55%
been?
is
They're so ripe for the
underage, then how do we know what they really think? That's the point I'm trying to make.
Well, we
Is
do know
how do we
that.
know what they really think if they're if more than half the population is under a certain age? No one's
Well, what
asking
should
that.
Israel do? Just take it up the. I mean, honestly, what should they do? They're people. If those were your kids that was abducted, it's like 9/11. I saw that plane come in, and I'm not one of those crazy nationalistic, patriotic. I don't. And nationalism and patriotism are two different things. But I will tell you, at that very moment that I saw that and people jumping out of the building while I was taking my kid to school, I have never felt, I knew by hook or crook, I had to get some money out of the ATM. I had to survive. I had to figure out. It was just like a freaking animal and about how to do stuff. And I'm sorry to say, my heart was in maybe not about kumbaya. I wasn't feeling it. And so all I'm saying is what are those parents supposed, if my country didn't do anything, I couldn't handle it. We were upset when nobody did anything about some of these gun people who were shot in their cars. Everybody goes bananas by the police. I mean, really? What? So it's so interesting how all of this is bringing about a lot of
what we're not talking about is the fact that, sure, we can do that because we have the luxury to do so. You're talking about a region. Yes, they're all under 25, but they're also on the hustle. When you really look at how they live, and there is places of rubble, and there's not enough food and there's not enough water, that is what they're thinking of when on a day-to-day basis. I can't say that I blame the parents, because a lot of times maybe the parents aren't even around. I mean, you never know if they were killed or if they were
killed. I'm talking specifically that they know parents and guardians were killed. This is what is remaining. So there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of displacement, and there was a lot of opportunity for turning them against, obviously, their situation. That's what is definitely.
But doesn't that go back to what I was saying about there are two separate issues here? You have the regular people on the ground, whether they're corrupted or not. But then you have the people who are in power, and the power is really the problem.
I'm not defending how Israel.
No, I know. I understand that, but I do think that in order for someone to corrupt another person, the person doing the corrupting has to have a measure of power in order to do that.
That's not true. I don't think so, in my opinion. I don't think they're that. I'm sorry. I just don't think like voting Hamas in 2006, it's men who are voting. Women don't vote. So that's a problem.
I'm sorry. There's too many countries that claim that they have real voting power, but even if they did vote them in,
then why is that? Then why doesn't their brotherhood help them? Like that should be that's
that
in
I
their
don't
household.
know. This is where the questions never end.
But people out there with their signs need to be going, hey, Saudi Arabia, hey, Syria, yo. All they do is Abbas, Arafat, all of them. Yasser Arafat tried to negotiate a peace treaty at one point. Okay, that he set it up, and then he wasn't happy with stuff. And then don't forget that Mohammed Abbas was, the reason they ended up with Hamas was because they said Abbas was stealing all the money that all the developing countries were giving them. We give them millions of dollars a year. Germany does, France does, everybody does. Just like Germany pays reparations to Israel and anybody else, we give them money. But the problem is their money is going to buying arms. They don't have
power. But again, that's the
Yeah, but
crisis
here's
of
my
power.
thing. So going in and taking out Hamas, you would think there would be some kind of people would be joining in to help and say, you know what? You're right. We will help you get these people to safety, and then you can just root these out. But the Arabs are so prideful and they hate Israel so much, they won't even step in and go, yo, this gone too far. I actually feel for these people. I'm going to step in and see what I can do, because that would make them look, they would have to have a shame on their hands with the rest of their 10 other or 11 other Arab communities. It's them. They need to get their shit together. And
But aren't those the people in power who would make those decisions, whether or
exactly,
not
but
they're
it's
going
just like,
right? That's
still,
I think the point.
girl, they haven't come off of it since Ham. The whole stereotypes, the anti-blackness that happened in the Arab world. It exists, by the way. It exists. So they've all been casting people. That's a whole other topic on another day. But the reality is there's some hardcore stoic that should be intervening, and they're not. And it's absolutely, if we do anything, it's get off of fossil fuels, get off of that. This is why we gave them power. Every time we get in our cars, we give them power. I paid $8 a gallon for a gallon of gas today. 8 per gallon. Those are bleeding us dry. And in the middle of it, they won't even lend a hand to their brothers or their sisters. It's disgusting. If I know a boogeyman is going to come around the corner after you, I'm going to sit there and shut the door on your. I don't care if you and I aren't getting along. That would never happen.
We're going to stop right there, because we could spend a while and we got other topics to talk about. But I just want to catch up. Lots of comments. I just want to catch up. So Regina is saying, as it comes up, it's all BS. Hezbollah, Hamas, the Zionists, two-party state. It's an absolute commitment to peace, period. Black Beauty says this: I do, as a Christian, love my God, Jehovah, and respect his word and his covenant with Abraham. But all I can do is pray for the Palestinians and Israel. I am not God, so this is all I can do. Michelle says, white Christians use the Bible to justify slavery on 2 continents.
The Bible condones slavery. The Bible.
Let me just finish.
Which disciple was the slave of Jesus? Jude? Wasn't it Jude?
I believe so. Let me just finish up here. Regina says it's not spiritual, it's a land grab. Michelle says, just like some Native Americans welcome white settlers, they soon found out they were there to kill them, enslave them, and take their land. This is Israel. She also says,
but I have to dispute when it comes up, because it goes both ways. There were tribes here who actually did not believe in that, and they scalped people. It's for real. The Lakota, different things. What planet do we want to just one side this? I'm going to come back and bring it back to you. It happened. It's called survival of the fittest.
Okay, let me continue on. Michelle says the solution is for the U.S. not to use my tax dollars to further Israel. She also says Black Americans have historically supported Palestine. We continue to support them. Regina says, pardon me.
Yeah, you keep on supporting. Well, this is the other thing. The narrative with that, yeah, it was the same narrative that Bell Hooks talked about with feminism. All of a sudden, everybody was trying to burn the bra and everything. What happened to Black feminists? Disappeared because the white feminists jumped on top. LGBT community piggybacked on top of the civil rights movement. Oh my God, they have rights. Black people still don't in America, but keep on standing for Palestine over your own rights at this point. Because to be honest with you, have you looked at how we have immigration doors open for them to come here? Quite easily, actually, quite easily. So for everybody who's sitting up here moaning, all we should have asked Israel to do was, can you give us more time to help those 2 million people immigrate here? Because they actually can.
What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna read the comments and we're gonna get to our next conversation piece. So So Regina says this coming up on the screen. Thank you. Think you should talk to my friend Samira Jill. In 1948, she left Jerusalem and all her ancestral home while the Zionists went around murdering anybody who wouldn't move fast enough. Michelle says, exactly, LaLa. Black Beauty says, well said, LaLa, well said. Regina says, as it comes up here, thanks, LaLa. The majority of people on both sides do not want this. Regina says also, Jill, your comments on the Palestinians and Hamas are like claiming 45 won the U.S. election in 2016, so all Americans supported him, or that the Lebanese support Hezbollah. The majority do not.
But he did win. And here's the reality on that. Whatever, everything that he did, we're all paying the price for it. It's no different.
Okay. All right. Michelle says this, and this is her opinion. White people are global oppressors.
And you're a racist.
And black feminists
I gotta
didn't
step
exist.
in on that one.
And then
I'm sorry.
Okay, and then Black Beauty says, pray for Palestine Zionist
What?
occupation.
You gotta
okay.
step in on what?
So,
Me calling her a racist?
LaLa, last comment.
I
and
know
we're moving
Michelle.
on.
I know Michelle like the back of my hand. She's one of my besties.
But she's a racist. That was a racist comment. Or she's prejudiced.
Not.
She's prejudiced.
She's not.
That was a prejudiced comment.
She stands for us as especially minority women. She does a lot of good in the world.
That was a prejudiced comment, and I'm actually very offended. I am half
I'm
white.
sorry, I'm not offended, but I will stand up
am.
for her because that is not Michelle. Michelle.
Well, she should watch her mouth. She should watch her mouth because that was offensive to me.
Jill, I think you said a lot tonight that have offended a lot of people.
That's okay.
And we're all here.
See, this is how everybody is. The whataboutism.
It's not okay if she does.
Oh no, it's a whataboutism. It's like tit for tat. You want me to say more? Because I really could. I could dismantle her.
Let's stop it right there. All right, let's move forward.
That's not fair.
Life isn't fair.
No, it's not. But it's not fair. I mean, you don't want people to make generalizations about you and vice versa. And we, one thing I'm very proud about on this show is that we are able to talk about things even when we disagree. And I don't want to go down that hole of us not doing that because I think we're all very smart and have the right to our opinions, but it's also not fair to just assume something about someone. I too have also defended some of the things that
How is it an assumption? Her comment, in my opinion, to me was prejudice. That is how I see a picture. So how is that?
We're going to cut it right there. We're going to go to the next conversation piece. So I think this is something where there'll be a little bit more unity, and it's gone a little bit cray-cray since we were last on together. It now seems that the Republican Party in the United States is picking Jim Jordan as a nominee for House Speaker, putting job within 45 allies' reach. Now, we haven't all together talked about the last few weeks of what's gone on in the House of Representatives, so I think we got to talk about that and also this. So talk about McCarthy, talk about Solis, talk about how nothing's getting done by the House of Representatives. Talk about division that's in the Republican Party. Aisha, go ahead, start first.
Okay, first of all, Kevin McCarthy needed to get gone. And what he wrote his own death certificate. The day he got Democrats to agree to that 30-day extension, then the next day goes on all the Sunday shows blaming them for a near shutdown and did not expect them to not vote for him. He lost his mind. But the other side is he also, when he agreed, he wanted to be speaker more than he wanted to do the job because he gave them the right for only takes one person to object and to get rid of the speaker, which now they're trying to change that rule because they saw what could actually happen. It's like, did you not think that when you let the when you opened all the doors in the asylum, that the crazy people weren't going to come out the rooms. They did. So that was that. I personally don't think that either Steve Scalise or Jim Jordan should be anywhere near positions of power. Jim Jordan defended people who were guilty of rape. Steve Scalise referred to himself as David Duke without the baggage. Neither one of them should be anywhere near the speakership. However, I need to know exactly why Steve Scalise pulled out after he won the majority vote in their caucus. Now, they had a caucus vote, which was just the Republicans in their caucus voting to see who they would put up as a nominee. He beat Jim Jordan by like 40, 60 some odd votes. How is it that he then, having won their nomination, says, oh, yeah, I'm not going to do this now, and moved out the way so that Jim Jordan could become the nominee?
Donald
I
Trump
think there's some very deep J. Edgar Hoover type stuff going
I
on.
agree.
Somebody
I
has
agree.
something on Steve Scalise that they
Donald Trump
use
doesn't like
to
him. He
blacken him.
actually said
It wouldn't matter. But guess what? It doesn't matter because Donald Trump can't vote. He has no say
he
in
started
any of it.
talking about his blood disease, which was
He
really
can't. But you know what? Guess he
What?
can.
I missed
But guess what?
that.
Fetterman,
What?
yeah, he's got a blood
He-
cancer. But Fetterman has
he said he
stroke.
wasn't fit enough. It was like nothing I'd ever seen, because they say he's mad that no one appointed him. They say
Yeah,
he's doing.
but there's something more than that, Joe, because everybody already knew that first of all, we knew that Steve Scalise is still dealing with injuries from being shot.
True.
So we also knew that he had the blood cancer because that came out 2 months ago. So
Yeah.
this is something else that he does not want to come out. I don't know if he's or something crazy, but whatever it is, it was
That's not
enough
funny, but
for
it's
him
just
to
like how you said it.
it was enough for him to be like, oh, I got the nomination. Guess what? I'm bowing out. No, because he was really gung-ho. Steve Scalise was mad that he didn't get the nomination the first time. So
Right.
why, when he does get it,
No,
he
it's
pulls
true.
out?
Nobody
There's something underhanded going on there. And I need to know what it is before they even get to a vote. Because this Jim Jordan stuff, it doesn't make sense. You're going to put a chihuahua, an angry little chihuahua of a man, as speaker to decide what goes to the floor? When he can't even decide whether or not he wants to buy a new shirt? Are you serious? Are you serious? The only things that are about Jim Jordan that are consistent is that dirty white shirt and that tired yellow tie. Only two consistent things. Only two. Those are the only two things that he can make a decision on. He is not ready for this. He's not cut for this. And when we get to talking about how Fannie Willis spanked the out of him, you'll know he's a weak little pathetic man. And this, you know what? If you're smart, you little 8 Republicans that decided you were going to get rid of Kevin, you'll vote for the bad boy from Brooklyn, Hakeem Jeffries. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I think that
It's a mess. The whole thing is just a mess. It's ridiculous. They're showing just how petty and how tantrum 3-year-old minds they have. You know, it's so clear that you know, for years, it's not just now, y'all. They've always been dysfunctional. They're just even more dysfunctional now that they've split between the MAGA and the regular dysfunction. But you know, the whole fact that our country
is there regular dysfunction, or are they just MAGA and extreme MAGA at this point?
Right. But our whole country's being held hostage by these idiots up there, you know, and the fact is that all this stuff is happening behind closed doors. You know, something isn't right. But now listen, I'm going to bring it back to something that people don't really like to talk about a lot. When they don't like something, then they turn and eat each other to death. Like, look, what they say, you know, what's his name? Gates, you know, when he wouldn't vote for McCarthy and all this stuff, right? Okay, right. And then they threatened him and you saw the look on his face, right? So my man came out and was like, he's gone, right? So what happens? They turned on him immediately and said, we don't want him here. Nobody likes him anyway. He's looking at porn on the floor. Well, you knew that from the beginning. So
True.
why are you trying to bring that up now? You knew it then, and you just trying to call it out for now. So what's that other politician's name that they had thrown out because they had him cross-dressing? Just because he came out and spoke against what was going on and telling all their business, they're going to
True.
do the same thing to Gates.
What
And
happened with
here's
George
the thing with the
Santos in the middle of it? Like, where's his vote stand in the middle? Is he able to vote in with the group? Because Nancy
Yeah.
Mace has
Yeah.
been on the fence, and she made a deal with somebody, because I see that Justin brought up Nancy Mace. Her moves have been interesting. They say she's a wild one of all the Republicans. She can't really, she goes specifically for what she wants. She looks for each speaker to offer her a deal, and that's who she'll vote for. So it looks like she came on Jordan's side.
But she's Nancy Mace is another one who can't be trusted. She plays South Carolina politics in Congress, and you can't do that. The stuff that she got away with doing when she was in the state house in South Carolina is the same kind of she's trying to get away with doing in Congress. The only difference is that now there's a national camera on her, where all the stuff that she was doing, even just the whole drinking game that she was playing, taking a shot and spitting it in somebody's mouth and then having them pass it. That's the kind of stuff that you see other politicians in that area, that particular state do. How do I know? I've been there. Okay, so I've seen some of those things myself with my own eyes, but she's trying to do that on the national stage, and you can't do that. She's such a flip flopper because she's in a district that could easily go to a far MAGA person, and so she's trying to play that. But she also has a little tiny portion of her district, down in the Low Country that has Black and Latino constituents, and she's still trying to not have them show up. So she's in my mind a non-factor. She's a South Carolinian. She's a non-factor. But Matt Gaetz, on the other hand, is like balls out. I don't care. They told him, we're going to try and reinvestigate you again for the 17-year-old and the trafficking. And he still went and did it, which, again, Matt Gaetz, his motivations, he doesn't intend to be. I promise you, come March, he's not running again. Why? Because he's about to jump in that Florida gubernatorial race because Ron DeSantis can run again. That is his motivation. He's trying to get that attention. What bothers me more than anything is that you have a ton of people on that side of the aisle that are so in it for themselves, they can't think about the good of the country. And then in 2.5 weeks, here we are again at another budget crisis. And I promise you, there will not be leadership that can handle it, because Jim Jordan, regardless if he gets the speakership or not, will not be able to negotiate a deal with anyone. His reputation precedes him. Joe Biden thinks he's a little rat. Democrats look at him like he's a little, like I said, shaking chihuahua, just barking at their heels. Nobody is going to deal with Jim Jordan at all.
Okay,
Period. They're better off letting Lee Stefanik do this, and she's not either.
I was going to say, thought it would have been her, actually.
Oh, they're not going to let a woman on their side, no.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's very true. They won't. Because
they would have made
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
No. What's her name? No, what's her name? A long time before they even put Kevin up and
Cheney.
Paul Ryan.
Liz
Cheney. They would have let Liz Cheney do it because she had more seniority. True. She had more seniority. She had more experience, and she had the name. They're not going to let a woman.
Let me just catch up with comments. And Justin says, yes, because of what you said, the David Duke thing was going to be a bad look. Nancy Mace spoke out against him.
Yeah, which was crazy.
Yeah, but you know what, though? But Donald Trump says all kinds of David Duke things all the time, and he still got 75 million votes, okay? So
they say Nancy only did it because she had already made a deal with Jim. So it was really very interesting.
Black Beauty says, LOL at Aisha's comment about Jim Jordan's tacky little shirt and tie. And Justin said about Nancy Mace, she's in a swing district. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
You know, District 1, I got to say this, though, having been a representative for all of the districts for African American affairs for South Carolina, District 1 is not really a swing district.
Really?
No, that's not really a swing district. The swing district, more than anything, even though it's a solid Democratic district, would be right there around Lexington area, just outside of Jim Clyburn's
Oh, wow. Yeah. Clyburn.
district. Because
All
Jim
right.
Clyburn has the middle of the state for
So
his
Regina says, great insights, Aisha. She's enjoying what you're sharing. Family, I'm looking at this north of the border. I'm going, this is absolutely ridiculous. It's like, not only, it's almost like, and this is just my lens, this party's imploded, but the biggest beneficiary is the ex-president.
Yeah.
And
no, I have to disagree with you, Dr. By the biggest
No, I agree.
beneficiaries are the Democrats, because for the first time, they're all on one accord.
so
They're like,
Aisha, I
they're like
still
moving
feel
in
like we're
they're
not
moving in
taking advantage of
lockstep.
this.
so here's a question I have for y'all. Is 45 going to be the next Speaker of the House?
You better
No.
not be.
I don't
No.
think he can be. I think there is something about
Yeah,
indictments. And
the indictments make him ineligible if you have any kind of criminal, not misdemeanors, but felonies.
Yeah,
which he has
can't.
91
He has 91 felony indictments.
Felony.
He can't do
He
it.
can't.
But that doesn't mean that they can't pass something.
Yep,
to
that's
change
what I'm
it.
saying.
So
Change the
then
rules.
there's that. I don't know.
But I have to say this though. In order for them to pass that, they would then have to send it up through
So
the Senate.
Black
would
Beauty
never
is
get
asking,
It would never
anywhere.
get past the Senate.
Aisha is saying, Black Beauty is saying, Aisha, please tell me why they won't impose 45 as Speaker of the House.
Well, like we were just saying, it's the felony convictions, because there is that clause that says if you are indicted or convicted of felonies, you cannot be a speaker. You can't be in the leadership that way. But also, too, if they decide to change it, like we were just saying, if they decide to change it, they have to put it in the law. They have to put that in the Constitution, because the Constitution is what they follow. The Constitution is what established Congress.
Hold on, they follow it? Really?
Well, no. What I'm saying is that the Constitution is what they have. Congress can have their rules for how they operate, but the establishment of Congress and the requirements of Congress and the Speaker are in the Constitution. And the Speaker, remember, they're in succession to the presidency. So that's the main reason why that person cannot have felonies and felony indictments, which Trump had.
I'm
But
watching all this.
they would also have to, in order to put that in the Constitution, it has to pass the Senate, which the Senate's job is to make sure whatever bill is constitutional. And we have a majority in the Senate.
Well, that's what I mean.
It would never pass.
So I look at the McCarthy
It's just
thing.
talk at this point.
No, but the McCarthy thing, that was bad enough. Then,
Well, that was a rule, but that was an internal rule. Like I said,
yes.
they have rules for how they can operate within Congress, but the establishment of Congress, the speakership is an established part of Congress that's in the Constitution, and so they have to follow the requirements for the speaker. Just like our Constitution says that for you to be able to be a member of Congress, you have to be 25.
So I'm looking at this from outside your country. I'm going, okay, so the party with the most seats can't agree on someone that should be the leader, let alone this budget crisis is going to come up in another few weeks.
Oh, you bet it is.
And I'm going, okay, and couldn't it figurely what happened to McCarthy happen to the next person that's in there?
And it can, and you know what? And I hope it does. And you know, I as much as I want us to avoid a budget crisis and to avoid a shutdown, I'm actually okay with things going this way. And the reason why is because the MAGA Republicans are so focused on their anger, their revenge, and all that. They're so short-sighted that they forget that they're being, even though they're seeing things happen one-on-one, what they're forgetting is that the rest of the country is watching this, and the rest of the country has midterms in about 2.5 months.
Yeah.
I just think that we're going to lose some seats.
Well, I mean, Oh,
in the
I don't think
House.
we're going to
And
lose
I'm
any. I think they're
yeah,
going to. I think they're going to
I
lose
think we're
quite a
going to
few.
lose. We're going to lose Minnesota in
You
the
think
House.
so?
Oh yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
think we're going to pick up all those seats we lost in New York.
But we
Why?
need, but I
Why?
because I
Because these
heard some
people.
stories. They don't like Ilhan.
Well, that's
But it
okay.
does. But
So,
she might be primary. I mean
I
that's
think
the
she
other
might
part of
be.
it. Is that-
That's
okay.
what I've heard.
if she's primary, she's in a very safe Democratic district. So it wouldn't
Okay.
matter if she's gone. There's going to be a Democrat there. But in New York is the one that they're really worried about because there are 8 seats there
I
that
know.
are Democratic strongholds and went to Republicans.
And it's
And the
getting more and
Republicans,
more.
right, the Republicans who won those seats, they are in horror looking at all this stuff going on and have tried to. Mike Lawler, who is a MAGA person, is out here talking about, oh, I have nothing to do with this. I think that what they're doing is horrible. This
I know
they
there's
should
a lot
let
of
them,
divisions in there,
because
but I
they're
think we're
scared.
getting divisions too. And
Okay.
Yeah, I do
this
too.
everything is creating some serious divisions between the progressives, the centrists, and the liberals. We have 3 kind of parties in ours. I think I might be a little more centrist than liberal, or at this point, the way I feel about the world. But yeah, because I know already that there are some policies that I want looked at, or I'm going to end up voting for the people that aren't going to really benefit our party.
Okay.
I think the
I-
one thing that people aren't counting on though is that the number compared to midterms in 2020, the number of Gen Z voters that have been registered outpaces the last generation, the last 2. So
Okay.
I think that's going to be that thing that kind of surprises people.
Okay. So I just want to catch up on some comments. Black Beauty comments here, and it's going to come up in a second. Be mindful. Minnesota has a huge Somalia democracy voice, so Ilhan is safe.
No,
Thank God.
I actually just read that actually from a person who works with in the AG's office. Like, no, it's an actual concern. It
Okay.
is a friend of
So-
mine, so I'm
so-
in it. So sorry.
So
They are
why then
concerned.
Regina says, so why is Santos allowed to
Because
stay
of
in the
something
house?
with her husband. I don't know. It was something
Well,
about her husband, so I don't know.
The reason that Santos is allowed to say, because technically you really can't impeach members of Congress. It's one of those things you really can't remove them. They can be sanctioned. He can be kicked out of all of his committees, but he already stepped down from his committees. They can what is it? God, I forgot what it's called, but they can silence him where he can't vote.
Can he still vote? He can't vote?
He
I
can
think
vote
he's
right
still
now.
voting.
They haven't censured him to the point that he can't vote.
But wasn't
Yes.
he indicted for a felony? So if
Yeah,
you're indicted for
and
a
just got some
felony,
more stuff added
you,
on.
you just can't
But, no,
become
but here's the thing:
speaker,
you can be a member of Congress,
but you can't be a speaker.
You can't be
Okay.
a speaker because that's in succession to the presidency, and the presidency says that you cannot be a felon,
A felon, yeah.
and
Okay.
that's why that speakership thing has that clause, because the person is in line to be the for example, they couldn't nominate, for example, say he did, they can't even nominate Max Frost to be speaker, because should he need to become president, he couldn't, because he's not old enough.
Yeah.
So let me ask. By the time we're on next, will Jordan be the speaker in your opinion?
Probably.
So.
Yeah.
Look, probably. I don't look. At this point, they're kind of embarrassed that Steve Scalise stepped down with no explanation. That's my thing. He stepped down with no explanation. You want him to step down, no explanation.
We just
He's
don't
not
know.
going to say what it is. Like I said,
True.
there's
That's
something.
very true.
I don't know. Maybe him and Lindsay have a thing going on like me and Mrs. Jones. I don't know. But there is something. There is something there, and I think that Jim Jordan he'll get this. He'll win. He'll get it by maybe one vote, because that's all it takes. They need but they need all 218 of their people
But
to
didn't
vote for
they
them.
lose a house seat? There was a plane crash recently, or was that in the Senate?
Yeah, but I think that was in the House. But the thing is that he only needs 217. They
He
have a
was a
200.
Republican. Okay.
They have a 218 majority. So
All right.
if even one person decides not to vote for him, he will not get the nomination.
Yeah.
Okay. So Justin says, I believe there will be a special election early next year for Santos.
Yeah, there should be.
I don't.
Yeah,
I think there should, but I don't, because look, the man has been indicted, charged, and guess what? He's still taking interviews and smiling and walking through the chambers of Congress like nothing's going on. The only way that they'll have a special election is if he resigns. He's not going to resign. You're gonna have to vote him out.
He kind of reminds me of Capote.
He's got that air, totally.
He totally reminds me of Capote. Like when he wrote that terrible book about the people all in Hollywood stars.
That's terrible.
Curious to know why they didn't know it's the truth. He just followed right in those footsteps.
So let me ask, family, is there going to be another budget crisis?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and they're gonna get right up to, I promise you, they'll solve this at 11:35. The night it expires.
So
sorry, guys.
From each one of your lenses, does the average American care about any of this?
No. You know why I say no? I was thinking about how I can support what I say when I say no. People are so busy trying to be something that they're not, or too busy trying to live. The cost of living is so high right now. People are having more than one job, trying to find side hustles, trying to do whatever they need to do to get their money in. If they really cared, we'd be in the streets protesting, and you don't really see that. Not that I think that protesting lately in our generation has really been beneficial to us, but it could if we all were on one accord. We don't see that anymore. You don't see people marching. You don't see people you don't see people being ashamed of what they used to be ashamed of, because now it's become the norm and everybody's kind of used to it. So no, I don't think for the most part, because if we really did and we would stop all this stupidity of tit for tat garbage, something would get done.
Why it became the norm, in my opinion, from what I know to be, is that people used to have protests and the numbers, the data would support in the next elections that these people, they held on and retained to their anger and their outrage and they wanted change. But because people are so short-lived and it becomes a whole social thing, let me go out and protest and take pictures on my Insta and whatever, it's a very fleeting thing. And the data in the last couple of years does not support the protests, the election data of people who actually show up and therefore go vote. They're not there. The numbers aren't there. If they were, real politicians would be scared. They'd be like, oh my God, what these people that are here? They're saying they're going to vote us out. And they would have a little fear in their lives, but we failed on that because now we just, go out and, march because, somebody dropped a tampon on the floor and it's just too much. But, it's become where we don't back our head up and show up at the polls in number. And that's from what I think there was a review on it that Yale or Harvard, somebody had one, and it was that we got to fix this because that's why the marketers, they pay so much to market to keep your brain forgetting about it.
And to piggyback on this about the caring, there's a reason that the silent generation and baby boomers are very reliable voters. And the reason is because civics was a requirement. It was a requirement when people were in school. We have
Yeah.
all these crazy MAGA people now taking over school boards, deciding what the curriculum will be for kids. And none of them have any education to begin with. But here they are making these decisions, pulling books out. They don't want their kids to read this and learn that. And as someone who's a Gen X and towards near the end part of the Gen X, is that U.S. History 1 did not teach me about the value of voting or how the government actually works currently in my lifetime. I just happened to see my parents who are boomers, my grandparents who are silent generation, constantly voting and knowing that they didn't always have the right to vote. However, kids who are younger than me, they don't know, and people coming in do not know how the government works. They don't know that when you elect this particular person to represent you in Congress, if they vote on this particular bill this way and it does not become a law, you in turn will end up suffering, whether it be paying more for your medication, whether it be your tax rate going up. And people will sit there and look at their paycheck, their pay stub, and be like, why am I paying more in taxes? Maybe I filled the form out wrong. Why am I paying more in taxes? Not realizing that, oh, the person you voted for to send to Congress voted for those Trump tax cuts to the wealthy. The tax cuts still have to be paid somehow. So what do? They increase the taxes on the middle class and poor working people. That's how the rich are able to get away with not paying their fair share. So because people don't know how this works, they don't care about, they don't really have to care. If they understood the process, how you get from point A to point B, then people would start to think about it. But the process in between point A and point B, there's so much daggone red tape. I just did a presentation this week about how a bill becomes a law in Connecticut. There are 8 fundamental steps, but do you know that each of those 8 steps has like 3 or 4 parts to it? There's one step that has like 5 different parts to it, 5 different ways it can go. And if it goes in either one of those ways, it delays you from getting to the next step. And then there are roundabout ways that you have to go to get to. It is so convoluted that people don't have the bandwidth, the mental capacity to even process and digest that part of it. They just know that when I vote for you, you said you were going to do this. Why haven't you done it? But they don't realize that, well, anybody can say they're going to do something when they go to Congress. Most people who say they're going to do something when they go to Congress don't really know how Congress works until they get
No,
there.
they
They realize,
don't.
wow, I said I was going to do that, but I realized I can't because in this committee, this is being held up. But the people on that committee don't want to vote for this. So how am I supposed to get this done for my people? And I promise them, it does not matter to anyone how these things have to happen. So they're really, if you're concerned about living and you're concerned about taking care of yourself and your family, you don't have the mental capacity and the bandwidth to process all these other things. You want someone to go and handle it because you feel like you've given them the power to do it. And then realizing that that power of that one person only works if there is a majority of those 435 people who have that same power to do that same thing.
Okay, let me just catch up with some things. Black Beauty says, well said, Aisha. Fitness IQ Cam says, talk about it, LaLa. And then Black Beauty says, Minnesota Sister Ilhan Party has already raised more than enough money, as well as their constituents love and support it, despite the nasty rumors by jealous-hearted racist Zionists.
You know, that has to, can we stop that? That too, calling people Zionists. It's wrong. It's just unacceptable. That is wrong. And if that's what you take, your takeaway from Ilhan is, and in support, to say that coupled with a very derogatory comment about Jewish people, it's wrong. It plays into anti-Semitic talk And it's not right. I don't want to be about that.
Okay, let me just move on. So Regina asks, so the George Floyd protest didn't affect the 2020 election?
Actually, I want to say something about the election. We know that there was like 70 or 70 something percent of white people showed up, of course, to vote. And like 60% of like black people did. And then the Asian community and the Spanish are coming in really hot and heavy, like in the 50s, higher 50 numbers. But because of like some kind of practices and dealing with like laws, with felon laws and whatever, it kind of keeps that number for the community down. But I'm not entirely sure if it was just a convergence. Yes, the George Floyd thing did to a degree impact, but I can tell you what's cooled off, at least in Los Angeles, is the more people aren't going to vote as liberal on the next round. So whoever they decide to put in, they need to not be as progressive, because anybody who was convinced to move with a progressive candidate is not going to, because of the state of California at the moment. That I can only speak for our state. It's in serious crisis. And
I think the thing though, to this question, did the George Floyd protest help or not help? I promise.
Well, we have a shootings too.
I personally would say no. And the reason I say no is because there were two other factors above it that made that happen. One, Trump himself.
Yeah, people hated him.
Himself was enough. After 4 years, he was enough. People saw what he did over a 4-year period, and then COVID. That in his response to COVID, those were the two I think.
Or non-response.
Exactly. Because remember, or non-response. Because remember, over 1 million people, but at that point, close to 1 million people had died. All those people had family and friends who vote. So that I think had a bigger impact than the George Floyd protests. The George Floyd protests might have had an impact on how a lot of people of color and definitely younger people voted, but the majority of the people, particularly, remember, Joe Biden got a lot of Republicans who left the party to vote for him, and they weren't voting for him because of the George Floyd thing. It was Donald Trump himself and the response to COVID. Those were those two things, but more than anything, Donald Trump himself and what he did to democracy. Those people also saw what happened after Donald Trump lost, and they've watched all this hoopla over all these court cases. They are still firmly in Biden's pocket. So Trump should be worried. And you know how you know he's worried? Because guess who he's going after? Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's declaring, he knows he can't run as a Democrat. He's declaring an independent run.
He sure is.
He's going to be the Ralph Nader of this election. And what's going to happen is he's going to siphon votes off from Donald Trump, because Democrats, people who vote for Democrats, reliably, and then those very smart Republicans know that he can't be trusted either. When your own family comes out and say he's not, don't believe him.
But he also went after Donald
and
Trump
you're a
also.
Kennedy. Look, and you're a Kennedy, and your family does that. He doesn't have a hope in a prayer.
But that's debatable. Funny enough, he's actually siphoning. He's got some steam out here that I heard an NPR podcast about him, and I just have a hard time listening to his voice because it's tough.
Gravelly.
And they were saying, though, that he has captured some independents, and they actually really like him. It's really terrible, but he will take some votes from Biden.
But see, those were independents who weren't going to vote for Biden. That's the part that they're not saying. When you look at these polls, and I've been looking at them with him, and then you go back and you look at the demographic data on these people, the people who are independent, who voted, who say that they're interested in him, voted for Trump the last election. So they weren't going to vote for Biden anyway. So I think more than anything, he's going to siphon off those people who don't want Trump but they're not happy with the rest of the pool either. Nikki can't make up her mind. Haley, Tim Scott, who just looks like Donkey from Shrek, and all the rest of them. Nobody cares about these people, and so they're looking. Republicans who aren't in Trump's corner are looking for an alternative, and Robert F. Kennedy is that alternative for them.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
I just want to, Black Beauty says, genius move by Kennedy. And Justin has a comment here. Surprised nobody has mentioned the possibility of Hakeem Jeffries getting.
Aisha did. You talked about
it. I did. I said he should, but he won't, because remember, Democrats do not have the voting majority. Republicans, no Republican in this current House is going to vote for a Democrat for Speaker, because that is political suicide going into a midterm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Democrats are one vote short of what they would need. They're 216. They need the Speaker, to get Speaker, that person needs 217.
Okay. Well,
you don't think there's nobody in there that would flip?
Maybe Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace.
No. Look, no. If the dollar signs are right, she might.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
If the dollar signs are right, she might flip. But then again, she'd have to go back to South Carolina, and she'd never live it down. So there's no way. Put it this way: when the only Democratic member of any part of South Carolina is Jim Clyburn, that tells you where that's deep.
Okay. I'm in my alleged mind, I'm thinking some things. We can stop here, go for one more story. Are you up for one more story? Or because a lot of energy's been put out today.
Yeah, I'll go for another.
Go ahead.
Okay.
But I do want to say one thing. Zionist is an ethnic slur.
Okay, we'll leave it at
people
that.
Need to know that.
So you know what? I'm going to put up some more interesting energy. Jada Pinkett Smith.
Oh gosh.
Says she and Will Smith have been separated since 2016. She said, we were exhausted with trying. So for those people who do not know, Jada, I
don't think anyone didn't know. I'm sorry. I think everyone knew that they were. It's been out there for years. Yeah. It's been out there for years. This is tired. She's got a book coming out about her life. Nobody gives it. Jada hasn't acted in God knows how long. She's her entire career so far really has been, after she stopped doing Black films in the late 90s, was Will Smith's wife. Nobody cares.
Something recently. What was that?
She does B movies.
Yeah, maybe it was something where it was like, science fiction, Star Wars-y type.
She's not a good actress. She's just hood. That's all. Sorry.
Well, I will give her credit for Demon Knight, because that's like one of my favorites. But other than that, I'm sick of hearing her business. Somebody, what is the term now?
She couldn't land Nia Long's role in Soul Food. Okay, she couldn't land that role. So you know that, and she was up for that. So come on.
I feel bad for her. I think it's just TMI. I don't think that. I think there's some issues with how she feels with her husband, and I just don't think it's something that needs to be worked out with the public, because I don't think that's the best place to do it.
There's something really unhealthy about the whole thing.
I agree. I just feel really bad for their children and everybody. And I'm sure kids support her. She's raised some great, talented kids. I'm not going to take that away from her. I think they're amazing. I think that she's conflicted with something, and so is her husband, but I don't know why they need us to know it.
Well, right. Exactly. Exactly. Is it going to solve the budget crisis?
Like,
I mean, I know. I mean, do I get a car? Look, do I get a car like Oprah for knowing? I mean, what is it? What is the benefit? What is the benefit? Yeah. What do I get from this? Aside from seeing you really put a copy.
I saw that. I saw that comment. So let me just put some comments up here. So so she wore the scarlet.
Nancy Mace did wear, and you know what? I'm sorry. I saw that clip of Nancy Mace wearing the scarlet letter. And the first thing I said when I now, mind you, I haven't read that since I was like 14, 15. I'm way older than that now. But her explanation, I'm like, you never read the book.
Okay.
Because Hester Prynne was wearing Scarlet Letter for adultery.
Right.
And because she was being accused of adultery.
Oh, I
Not
love
because
that book.
John,
I
whatever his name did, but because she did and she got pregnant. What was your purpose, Nancy? It's Scarlet Letter A of all things.
Okay, let me get back to Jada. Some more comments here. Fitness IQ Ken goes, oh Lord. And Regina says, inquiring minds have no interest in Jada. Done, been done.
And I'm sorry, I caught the last, like, 'cause, you know, I watched Dateline on Friday night, so it was messing with my Dateline time.
Was
they
she
went
on
over
the show?
She was on Hoda Kotb's show. Hoda did a special with her that went 3 minutes over into my Dateline time. I was very upset about it. But I happened to see Jada, and Jada's eyes were all misty, but no tears were coming out. And that's when I was like, you're acting. Why don't you act like that on the screen?
Right.
I believe you then. But now I'm like, you just say stuff to make yourself sound profound. And I don't believe you.
So Wig Maniac, as Jill said, she's really flipped her wig.
Yeah, Wig Maniac
Fitness
said that,
IQ
right?
Cam goes, what's the reason? Cardi B
What's
voice.
the reason?
Let me just get goes. We got right on Aisha. Nancy did not okay, we're still talking about Nancy Mace. That's with the last story.
Scarlet Letter. Yeah.
The last story. We've less, and April says she wishes she was Tupac.
And see, that's not now. It wasn't enough for her to be good friends with Tupac, to go to high school with him, to be buddy with him, to even get him a guest spot on A Different World when she was on. I'm sorry, that was probably her best acting to date, was when she was on A Different World. And even then I didn't like her character. But yeah, I don't understand that whole thing about her.
Tupac, right? Isn't that the story?
She says that they never dated, but he was in love. Personally,
she got a whole nother entanglement with that.
Oh no,
there's a whole other entanglement. But guess what? But here's the thing. But guess what, Jada? Tupac's dead. You're not.
I know.
Why are you still living in? They look, something that I never thought would happen. They just arrested somebody in the murder of Tupac. I never thought they were going to do that. But guess what? If they could solve the murder of Tupac, that no one ever thought they were going to do, Jada, you can move on.
All right, then we haven't even talked about it. We'll save that to another week about that. But also, Regina goes, she needs Tupac for bags and leave.
Very good.
Oh, OMG. Justin says she has a good PR rep, that's for sure. No, the news media is desperate. That's what they are.
Yeah.
But here's another thing, I think I was mentioning it to Jill, or maybe not. If you go on Will Smith's Instagram feed, Will Smith has not made a post in the last 8 days. But if you go onto his Instagram feed, there are many people saying, basically, why are you still with this lady?
Yeah.
People have been asking why he's still with her after the slap. Okay, so it's like, if she took you out your character that much, why are you still? But guess what? And then for her to sit there and say, "Oh, well, I thought it was just a skit. I didn't think this was serious." And this tells me something else too. Wait a second, Will. Y'all been separated since 2016, and yet you still felt the need 6 years later to slap Chris Rock because he said something about Jada? I'd be like, okay, and
which is really weird.
We don't live together, so I don't gotta go home and listen to her complain.
Well, I have heard reports that Jada has spoke to Chris Rock post the slap.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
And he basically said he didn't mean anything to harm and all that. But I find it very interesting. This is my lens. Jada's doing all this stuff. Wouldn't you think you'd like to do it together as a couple?
Well, no, because she has a book coming out. That's why she's doing this.
Yeah, but the stuff she's talking about does
But
involve.
no, but see, if she brought Will to any of this, Will would get the attention. Her book would not.
Now
This is
see,
about
there's a
selling.
point now.
This
So
is
for
about
some,
selling her book. Her book comes out Tuesday. Why did she put this
okay,
out? She put it out a week before the book came out so she could generate some press and interest in people buying her tired book.
Yeah,
so
but
I've got to.
listen, I mean, really, come on. How doggish is this? She just keeps coming out with stuff to me that is just so disrespectful, whether they're together or separated or whatever. Someone that you love or someone of the father of your children, you don't have any respect for him to speak a little better about him than you do. That's just sickening to me.
Well, here's the reason. Once a hood rat, always a hood rat.
Well, there you go.
Ooh.
I think that was right on the point.
Can I do this? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do a LaLa. Okay, but well, look at this. Wigmaniac comments are flying in here. Very clear. Fitness IQ Kim says it's all about publicity. She also says we all knew that. Regina goes, her tea isn't stale, it's downright moldy. Ouch. Ouch.
True.
And Fitness IQ goes, all right. But so for me, I just find it just really strange. And I think a good point that I think you made, Jill, how are the kids taking this?
I know it's a lot. They can't even get on and talk, like the daughter, like I love her music. I think she's so talented.
Yeah,
and the son,
Willow's
he does
talented.
stuff. It's like at this point in their age, why aren't they just rejoicing in their talented kids and their things and making it a little bit better for them and giving them, I know they give them their support, but your parents, they're old now. They don't need to be you don't need to be standing in front of your kids like this. It's very competitive.
And the kids are adults at this point too.
Will's made more than enough money to support all of them forever. And it's like, just be a mom and enjoy maybe other little perks.
So I think
honestly,
Aisha,
I personally think a lot of her, and I've always felt this, when Jada married Will, she stopped getting movie roles. And Jada for a time, she was the bigger actor than Will was. And I think a lot of what comes out is really her resentment and anger and her feeling like he eclipsed her.
This is something you're reading. Yeah, you're reading my.
The bottom line is, Jada, it's not that Will eclipsed your star. Once a hood rat, always a hood rat. When you act like one on screen, those are the only roles you're gonna get. And when those movies went out with the 90s, so did all of your opportunities.
No, I mean, I think that they had more than enough money and they knew enough people to get things financed. They had so many options and opportunities.
Nobody wanted her though.
But that's just still like, it just seems like there's more going on mentally about approaching a certain age and maybe you're looking at your kids and the opportunities where they are, and the world is very different than what you had to go through. There's just some unsettled business, it seems. And I know it looks like she's trying to really be stoic and
Okay.
Think about it this way too. One, Jada Pinkett has never been, and remember, she was Jada Pinkett when she's an actress. She has never been in a blockbuster movie. When Will Smith did Independence Day, he went from basically kind of being on her level to soaring in the stratosphere. And then if you ever watch the show Hollywood Exes with his first ex-wife, they're a total different level of class than Jada.
He was on that show? I never watched those, so I didn't know.
No, I didn't know either. I mean, maybe she wants to broach the subject.
She had Will Smith. She had Will Smith money, to quote somebody from the show.
I mean, Maybe
Yeah.
we should think that maybe in the book she's trying to tap into that menopause market of like you're married and you're not like the same couple you were when you got married
I
40
got
years
a
ago. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of another reason.
I got a
guys. Somebody
press
asked
release
why, so I'm like,
I got a
maybe
press release from a publicist, because I still get those from publicists about different books and things that are coming out. And
Mhm.
if people want me to write about it and like they include like little excerpts, it's trash. I read her book about Tupac's mom. I read her book of poems
Oh, she's
about
written
Tupac.
books. Oh, I didn't know
Yes.
that.
Now the one book
I
I will
didn't
say that she
either.
did, the one book I will say that she did that was really cute, because I got it for my daughter when my daughter was little, and it was a book she wrote with Willow called Girls Run the World. And it was
Oh,
a really cute book for children. That's her lane. That is
yeah.
her lane. But what the little excerpt, I'm like,
At this point, I don't know if
I'd
it's her
rather
lane,
choke down
but
pumpernickel toast than to read that book.
Okay.
you know what? I love pumpernickel bread. I love it with tons of butter. It's so funny. I love it. You made me think about it. I love it.
So it's interesting because, and I don't think we'll go much further on this. And we got some more comments here. Fitness IQ goes losing identity, and I think a question: is it because she's been living in his shadow and she's
Maybe.
not happy with it?
Maybe.
Fitness IQ
I don't
goes
think she's ever had her own. I don't think she's ever had her own identity. Early on in the 90s, her identity was her affiliation with Tupac. Then it was her affiliation with Will Smith. She got a thing for rappers, apparently, because then there was August Alsina.
So Regina says Jada's comeback, G.I. Jane 2. So, well, it seems that we're not going to stop hearing about this story, and we'll see what it has to go. But I just wanted to get your lenses on it, and thank you as always, ladies, for taking the time to
And thank
share.
you, Wig Maniac.
And also we've got something here that is being shared. Wig Maniac has just said breaking news. Let me just put it up here. If we get to there we go. Shots fired at Texas State Fair. Shooter in custody. Multiple people injured. And Wig Maniac says Regina Frisb. I don't know what that means, but I'll leave it at that.
It's like a drum thing.
Oh yeah, okay, thank you. Well, okay, I didn't know that, but at least I shared something with you guys, the KMT, right? Kiss my teeth.
Yes.
The KMT. So, ladies, as always, it is great to have you, and also great to have you back. It's been too long, and thanks for handling, especially the first part of our conversation, maturely, because some people go, we all love each other. All right. Understand that. Thank you very much. So before we let everyone go, we got to share the contact information. It's always changing, so I hope I have it right. So first things up, we've got LaLa Key. I'm going to wait for this thing to come up. All right. There we go. LaLa Key. She put it on her tag, but where can people get a hold of you?
You can find me everywhere at Realty Goddess.
That makes it easy. That makes it real easy. Next up, her name is Jill Jones.
Yes. Jill Jones Music at Instagram and Threads.
All right. And finally, we have Aisha K. Staggers.
Yeah, when I show up.
When I show up, you can catch her at AK Staggers on Instagram. All right. That's it. That's all. And I will share where people can get a hold of me. And I'll just put that up in un momento. I just got to do something here. All right. You can catch me here. Website, the drvibeshow.com. Email dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show. X, formerly known as Twitter, at drvibeshow. Instagram at the drvibeshow. I think we will probably in the near future got to talk about the changes that are coming to the X platform. We talked a little bit before we went live, and you know how much Aisha, Jill, and LaLa love Elon Musk. So maybe we'll talk about that next week. All right. So we're getting ready to finish off here. This was epic. This was epic, but it was so good, wasn't it? All right. You can catch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on the website, and also Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. All right. So this is it. We are done. So remember, as always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And follow on the platform. Speaking that, we'll have all three of them back next week. Join the Discord group, please and thank you, because there was stuff on Discord that I want to put up, but I said, there's just too much going on. Just too much going on. So just want to put up here, join the Discord group at dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com. Once you send me that email, I'll send you a link. You can check it out. Always advertise your business, product, or service. Same, email me. And then finally, join the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube. Subscribe and hit the notification button. Also follow on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. All right, that is it. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith and walk good. We'll see you soon. Be safe. Remember to give yourself grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Cheers.